Hey, what's up, Denver? All right, real talk. If you run a business here right now, it can feel like the whole game just flipped. Google keeps changing, AI is suddenly your customer's new best friend, and half the agencies in your inbox are promising the moon while quietly handing your account to a junior who barely knows Colfax from Colorado Boulevard. Today, I brought in two guys who actually live in the numbers and the neighborhoods, Michael and Jason from telescopemapping.com. They're a full funnel growth team that outranks NASA for the phrase telescope mapping, if that gives you any indication. And they act like a fractional marketing and sales department for Denver businesses. In this episode, we get super practical. We're talking about how to fill the top of your funnel, how to actually turn all that attention into revenue, how to show up in local search, AI search, and those Google business reviews that decide where people spend their money. And if you're a Denver founder, a brick and mortar owner, marketer, or just a DIY operator trying to grow without getting burned again, this one is for you. You'll learn which channels actually matter for Denver locals right now, what AI search really means for small business, how to use events, email, and local SEO together, and how Michael and Jason think about being true partners in your growth story, not just another vendor. Before we dive in, if you love this kind of very Denver, very useful conversation, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter at realgooddenver.com. That's where we send the weird events, secret spots, and the tactical playbooks from conversations like this. Think of it as your weekly cheat sheet for making Denver smaller, more interesting, and more profitable all in one email. That's the newsletter at realgooddenver.com. And if this episode helps you, go tap those stars and leave a review. It helps more Denver folks find the show. All right, let's get into it.
What's good, Denver?
All right, Jason, Michael, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having us.
100%. Now, to get going here, I'd like a brief overview of your company, Telescope Mapping, and perhaps frame it for local businesses and businesses in Denver that are looking to grow their company and kind of what services you provide and what they could expect in working with you guys.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Happy to start there. So telescope mapping, Michael and I formed. We are a full funnel growth services, sales and marketing strategies and consulting that we put together tailored approaches for our clients. About half of our clients are small business. And really what we help folks do is fill the top of the funnel and accelerate growth through the entire purchase funnel. So we truly handle full funnel. We help both B2B and B2C businesses. Working local definitely gives a lot of juice to what we do. We like being close to to who we're helping. When we're able to, especially locally, we love to kind of meet up in person, grab happy hour, and really connect on a personal level. And really our approach to our business and to our partners is to become a true partner in their growth story. For a few businesses, actually, we sort of constitute the entirety of their marketing and sales department. So being able to be close to our customers really, really helps fuel what we do.
100%. And is there, and I think it's like an important differentiation because I think between small business, SMBs, enterprise, you have a lot of different challenges, and we've got folks that listen to the show from all up and down that spectrum. Maybe walk us through, since we're talking about Denver in particular, for companies that are maybe brick and mortar type shops, what are the important marketing channels that'll be very relevant to them?
Yeah. So in terms of local, Google business accounts are big for local businesses. With a Google business account, you're looking for a nice, robust profile. And businesses like that lean very heavily on reviews. So when folks are making decisions about where to spend their energy, their time, their money, they want to see that, other folks have had a great experience, interacting with their business. Beyond that, social channels can be really important, especially if you're looking at, more niche or niche niche markets where there might be groups of folks that are looking for products and services, or are just generally interested in a particular category. Google search, and now, of course, AI search is becoming more and more relevant for businesses of all sizes. So that's a great way to acquire new customers who may have no, awareness of a particular business, so their service offerings or product offerings. So, those types of queries can be based on, keywords, which is great. It gives businesses a chance to go really deep into what they do and, fill the top of the funnel simply by way of search. Getting in front of folks at events, I think, is a great way. We have one customer in particular that they do a lot of farmers markets. So there's a farmers market that happens every week in the Highlands area of Denver. They're often present at that, and they bring tons of new fans to their brand and new customers for their products. So that's really important. Email is really big, especially when you're talking local. If you have a captive audience and you're sort of on the same wavelength and talking about things that resonate with them, it can be a great way to stay in touch on a very personal level. So that's a great way to leverage a channel like that. What am I leaving out here? Am I missing anything, Michael?
I think that's pretty good coverage. Yeah. I mean, one other thing outside of some of the things Jason mentioned would be just leveraging some local based queries and getting a sense for how people search in the local market. So sometimes that's easy as appending the location you're trying to rank for. So Denver to some of your pages, but also just optimizing for the local audience, making sure your local citations are accurate, and then also trying to acquire other backlinks naturally from local businesses as well that have local relevance. So a lot that you can do on the local SEO front. And, as Jason pointed out, the Google business profile is probably the biggest driver because, it's just such a dominating factor in search now.
Yeah, truly. And, now, Google was just the one-eyed giant on top of the hill that controlled it all. But now you're starting to see new players. It's very interesting to see how LLMs are starting to infiltrate not only search, but also recommendations, because, now we're all developing relationships, whether it's with Gemini or it's Anthropic or it's GPT, where the way and the nature in which we're engaging with them, it's becoming like a trusted friend. So, getting a recommendation as a business on ChatGPT, for example, is now more and more prescient and valuable. Aside from kind of traditional SEO tactics, which are still absolutely important because you have to think where the LLMs are getting their training data. Well, they're definitely getting it from Google search. They're definitely getting it from your Google profile and reviews from peers and things like that. But they're also finding it in novel places. How should people and business owners kind of approach what LLM optimization? I don't know if we have an acronym for it yet. Is it AEO? Are they calling it something yet?
It's AIO mostly, AI overview and search acquisition. I think some of the SEMrush and some of the different tools out there have their own different language for it now. And that's the really interesting thing about LLMs and the emergence of this completely new way to search for information. More people are absolutely depending on it and treating it as, a source of truth. And I think there's a really exciting aspect to that. And there's also a really concerning aspect to that too, because you mentioned it right there, Ryan. LLMs are just aggregating existing data and taking a lot of information from sources across the web and, spitting that out based on different queries. And it can be really, really awesome if you can get involved in that. But the other side of it, and, something Jason and I have been seeing more and more is a lot of firms targeting the fact that they have a specific approach for AI or that they're able to get ranking in ChatGPT or different LLMs. And, while there's some truth to that, the real fact is there's not really a dedicated strategy other than having a really, really buttoned down SEO approach and great coverage in search. If you rank really well for the queries that mean the most to your business and the money keywords that drive revenue and conversions, it's really likely that you'll find success in ChatGPT. So we really recommend, still a really strong focus on being the authority in your space. And if you can do that, you do get a lot of coverage in ChatGPT. A lot of our clients are naturally coming up in queries on ChatGPT, but it's mostly, in our opinion, because they're also coming up in search in general and becoming more of a topical authority. So, we try to provide a lot of guidance on AI to our clients as it comes up. And there's certainly strategies that you can employ to leverage the different types of ways data is collected through there. But we really maintain that idea that if you can dominate, just the digital marketplace, you're going to show up in ChatGPT. And as soon as they provide guidance for how their ranking algorithm works, that's when we can really unpack how to actually get in there and do some AI SEO stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, just as a validation of just how important, traditional SEO is, just a couple of weeks ago, SEMrush or SEMrush was acquired by Adobe for like $2 billion. SEMrush being probably the preeminent, aside from HHFref, it's probably the preeminent SEO kind of research tool. So to see Adobe, spend a mint on acquiring those guys means that for a long time to come, SEO is going to have serious repercussions. It's interesting how it's starting to differ. And we'll see how long it lasts, which is to say that GPT doesn't have ads now, which is probably hurting them because they're starving for cash, but at this point they're looking for novel business models, which I've been keeping an eye on. One such way is I think they have a deal with Etsy, and there might have been another retailer. So if you're saying hey, I'm looking for a shopping bag for groceries, then they'll basically use it's Etsy and it's also Shopify. So it'll go pull from Shopify first because they have a relationship and give recommendations within Shopify's ecosystem. Now, as a small business owner, that is greatly to your advantage, because if they're recommending you through your Shopify store, then you get all the customer data. Now if you go look for shopping bag on Google, it's going to send you the first 10 will be Amazon click through. And plenty of retailers have done great on Amazon, but the retailers don't actually get their customer data through Amazon. So from my kind of perspective as a believer in DIY and craft, and I think when people have a respect, appreciation for their customer, the actual consumer gets a higher quality product, which is what I'm looking for. This would be a tremendous advantage where maybe some of these smaller shops that are putting out more quality products can actually get higher ranking from GPT, which is not only just a search engine where everyone just knows how to ignore the ads, but now it's kind of like a trusted confidant, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. And, customers can do deeper research too. You can sort of unpack. If you're looking for a bag, you can, users can get more specific. I'm looking for a bag between, the cost between $20 and $30 and has at least 100 reviews, and is made locally and is ethically sourced, that type of depth. So I think it gives business owners an opportunity to, within their site and across the platforms they're displaying their products, to go really deep into, their product, how it's made, who it's for. And, by using an LLM, you can have a conversation about that and really sort of drill down on what you're looking for. ChatGPT is opening up in-app purchasing too. So it's sort of, device or platform agnostic. So, even if you just open up ChatGPT in a browser, you can check out right on ChatGPT, which is just, it's amazing to think about. You can have a full conversation about what you're looking for, really narrow down what it is you want to purchase and then purchase on platform. So it's really, it's really exciting. All that said, with our customers right now, we service B2B and B2C. ChatGPT referrals and AI referrals in general are only making up about 2 to 3% of like all referrals. So, although it's certainly growing and probably that growth will be exponential at some point, to date, like the traditional, traditional search is still far and away like the number one acquisition point for most businesses.
Bet. And you guys have a very novel service offering, which is to say you guys work very holistically, almost kind of like a fractional marketing department. And I don't know if people really understand like how huge that is, because it's hard to find folks that are going to basically put you into the best situation for their particular business. In marketing, you have a lot of tools. You have every major platform all has a suite of tools they want you to use. They want you in their ecosystem. They want your marketing and advertising dollars, and they'll kind of tell you anything to get you there. So for you guys really being able to do the consulting, do the audits on the front hand, seeing what's going to move the needle in the best way, is ultimately going to be the most valuable thing to your customers. So talk a little bit about the inception of kind of putting together this business and really what led you to the conclusion of like, hey, we want to be able to meet people where they're at and help them grow where it's going to be best for their particular business.
Yeah. That's a great question. Jason and I have worked quite a bit together throughout our careers. Most notably, we were part of a pretty successful acquisition of a large media company. And, it was a great experience for both of us. And we kind of did a couple other things afterwards. But, one thing that was really challenging for me, after we kind of left that acquisition was I was seeing a lot of great results in terms of lead acquisition, different marketing KPIs, but there wasn't a lot of conversion on the sales side. And Jason happens to be a very excellent conversion focused person. And I tried to bring him into a couple of the different operations I was working in. Ultimately, didn't happen. But we were just kind of thinking one day, and I think Jason had mentioned, why don't we just kind of put it together and go and do it ourselves and do it at the level that we would like to do it. And, with kind of our approach, it all was a right time and right place type of vibe. And, it's been really great since we started to launch off. But ultimately, we had great success working together, and we just wanted to do our own thing and do great work for businesses that we care about ourselves too. So, kind of parlaying that into our approach with auditing and how we work with businesses, I think one of the biggest differentiators for us is, we'll never take a cookie cutter approach to any sort of growth marketing. And I think, there's a lot of one common thread we see when we talk to potential clients or people is that, oh yeah, I've been burned by an SEO company. I've been burned by a marketing company. And it definitely sucks to hear, but we take from the approach of like just a small business angle. I've hired those types of firms before as a marketing director for a company and all that stuff. And it's just very frustrating. So we wanted to do the exact opposite, provide really great service, and just take a custom approach to the needs of each business. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot more we could say, but I'll let Jason chime in a little bit too, from his perspective as well.
Yeah, we got started because we have folks requesting services too. So it was, that like traditional leap of faith, in starting your own business. We were really fortunate to not really have that. Our business initially was built on referrals and requests for service. So we actually were able to start with a nice small book of business with folks that we knew from working working with them in at different touch points sort of along our individual paths. So it was a really great starting point for us. And once we got sort of off the ground and moving with these businesses, it just felt so great to be helping them. And being able to sort of say, this is what we want to focus on. So it all came together pretty naturally, and has been great since.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks fall into that trap. I can speak from direct experience that you work with the marketing company. Oftentimes, the guy that brings you in the front doors and the guy that actually works on your campaign. So you really get sold on the expertise, and then there's a very junior level person that's working on it that might not know much more than you. So I really encourage folks to reach out to Telescope Mapping. I know you guys do have free offers to get people kind of understanding your service. Telescopemapping.com is the place where people can go learn more. Tell me a little bit, how did Telescope Mapping emerge as the name of the brand?
Yeah, well, so telescope mapping is, it's a process that involves collecting vast amounts of data and building sort of like usable 2D or 3D maps to gain sort of like a comprehensive understanding of what it is that you're looking at. We in our business take a very data-driven approach. So you mentioned, starting our process out with an audit. That's the first step of any engagement for us, regardless of the stage of the business. We like to let data sort of drive all of our decision making, and really take sort of a scientific approach to unpacking the needs of a business. So, we lean very heavily on that, and it's been a big part of our success. So that's sort of like the concept wrapped into a brand. I am proud to say that as of today, we outrank NASA for the search term telescope mapping. So a little bit of proof of concept there. Not the greatest, not the greatest competition to go up against, but that's sort of where it started. And originally, the business was more of like a small business consulting agency that I ran. I was working through 1 and 2 day 2-day workshops with small businesses. I also wrote a workbook. It's like 150-page workbook for founders to take sort of a kernel of an idea and expand it into the actual like starting point of a business. So starting with an idea, giving entrepreneurs a map really to like work out their ideas and get to launch. The workbook is actually called Launch. So that's sort of like where all of the branding started for the business.
Amazing. All right. I think we're entering that time in the podcast for the lightning round. Are you guys ready to go? And I think what I'll do is I'll start with Michael, and then the next question go to Jason, Michael, Jason. We'll toggle back and forth like that. That is assuming, Michael, that you're ready for the lightning round. Are you ready?
I'm absolutely ready. I'm dialed in.
All right. Favorite taco spot in Denver? What do you got?
Oh my gosh. Well, they always say they'll tell you what they are, but I'm actually vegan. And I think my favorite taco spot, there's not a lot of options for us for one. But I think I have to give a shout out to Fellow Traveler down in Englewood. Great spot.
Back to them. Do they do specifically vegan tacos, or are they you just kind of getting the veggies?
They're an all vegan restaurant. Yeah.
No kidding. Tell me, what's the name of them again?
Fellow Traveler.
Fellow Traveler. Cool. I have not heard of them. I eat a lot of meat. That's probably why.
Well, yeah, if you're down to skip 1 or 2 days a week, check them out.
Well, absolutely. I know the spot on Tennyson. What's that, Root Down, or what is it?
Yeah, Root Down's a good spot for sure.
They got
Vital Root, I think, is the vegan
restaurant. Vital Root. That's it.
Well, Root Down is also, they might not be full vegan, but they have vegan options. But yeah, good call, Jason.
Yeah. All right.
Not good
Jason,
for my veganism.
Union Station at Christmas, magical or overhyped?
I'm going to go with magical. Yeah. I mean, I've lived in Denver a long time, and I still my wife and I went a couple years ago and just walked the 16th Street Mall. There's like it's 16th Street Mall. If you live here, isn't probably the place that you go, but the lights and the people and the energy, I think it's great.
Yeah. I think they're making real strides to make downtown Denver a magical place again. And I totally fully support it. All right, Michael, Denver Flex. What do you prefer? Pearl Street Farmers Market or Secret Speakeasy nobody knows about?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I used to live in the Platt Park neighborhood, and we used to frequent the Pearl Street Farmers Market. So I got to give a shout out. Although, sometimes it's a little too packed for me, and you have to just shuffle through. It's a lot of stimulation, but there's some good stuff there.
Yeah. You're on Pearl Street. Stello's is right there. It's a whole good energy. I kind of I'm from South Denver. I went to South High School. I spent a lot of time bouncing around there. And so there's just certain spots over there that I love so much. Devil's Food, shout out to them. I love that spot. Also Sports Plus, I believe down there. It's all the secondhand sporting goods. I went there one time with like $20 and left with like a 5-gallon bucket full of baseballs and just went hit grounders to my son all day. I love that spot. Love South Pearl. All right, Jason, here we go. Favorite view of the skyline? We got Sloan's Lake at sunset or City Park at sunrise?
They're both good. I'm gonna say, well, if you're at Sloan's Lake, if you're on the east side of the lake, that view's pretty good. I live over there too, so I'm a little bit biased.
Oh, nice. What part of Sloan's Lake?
We're like Whitman and 26 neighborhood.
Did we already talk about this?
Yeah, because they have that awesome farmers market
Yeah.
that's like right up the street that we walk to on Sundays. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at 24th and Quitman for 10 years.
Oh, you lived over there? No,
Yeah.
you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I just moved
Yeah.
down south. I'm in Roxborough now, trying to get used to the country life. But yeah, I live right there for forever. So, taking a lap, and I want to give a shout out to my neighbor Ken. You'll appreciate this. Ken, I talked to him today. Yeah, I believe he's 76 years old. Forgive me, Ken, if I misspoke. He's a big fan of the show. But he just recorded the 1,000th mile for the year. He's done 50,000 miles around Sloan's Lake since he's been in the neighborhood.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And I pay attention to those stats because for a while I was training for runs, and Sloan's Lake was like I don't know, just a regular run for me. And I was keeping track of like the leaderboards on if you use Strava to track mileage or anything like that. Yeah, there's some folks that are definitely dedicated out there.
Man, I feel so bad that we met after I had moved away. We're like neighbors. I know exactly what block that is. It's like the back of my hand. Incredible. Also the second part of this conversation, I mean, Sloan's Lake at sunset is beautiful, but if you're looking at City Park at sunrise, you've made some questionable decisions the night before. You got you got to watch out for that. Okay, Michael, I got one for you. If you had to pick one forever, Coors Banquet beer or craft beer with a name you can't pronounce?
Oh man, that's tough. I feel like I enjoy Coors Light more than Coors Banquet. It's a bit heavy, so I'm going to go with Craft Unpronounceable Hazy IPA because you don't have to ever know what they are. You just go ask for a hazy and you get something random and good. And if it's locally made, even better.
Amazing. Yeah, I was always I was an IPA guy for many years, but counting the calories, I got to go Coors, largely because I just am in awe. Anytime I make that trek, I love the spot, the entrance to Golden up 26, and you go right alongside Coors. But just as a fan of scale in general, to see the immense operation of how much beer they can make there, it's absolutely incredible. All right, Jason. Rhino murals, still hot or kind of touristy and over?
We really enjoy the murals. We had an office down in Rhino, and yeah, it really added a lot of flavor to the neighborhood. But It's been a minute since I've been down there. I remember there were a lot that went up sort of like in the pandemic, during the pandemic. And I thought it was cool because it felt like a sign of life, when everything felt dead. So yeah, I think they're great.
Totally
Are
agree.
they still hot? I don't know. I feel like I'm too old to really like make that call.
Yeah, exactly. Get out. I'm down there like get off my damn lawn kind of energy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
cool. Michael, I want to rope in your band and give them a shout out. You've got a group called Splendid Blend, which sounds like a mix of like electronica, a mix of jam, kind of improvisational groove type music. The website is amazing, splendidblendband.com. And I don't know if you saw this, but there's a new reality dating show coming to Denver, and it's called Wooking for Love. Have you heard of it?
I did, yeah. Several people actually text me that because, with the jam scene, you do run into the occasional wook. I think it's great. I've never watched a dating show, but if they get that cleared on air, I think I'm going to watch. I think there used to be a page I don't know if they still do it, but it was called like Denver Wook Hunter. And they would find the best wooks and just post them on Instagram. And, it's a great culture. It's vibrant. And yeah, if you like jamming and spinning around, you might find some of them at a Splendid Blend show.
And we can all appreciate Wooks. I mean, they take a little bit of heat, but I mean, Denver being the base capital of the planet, they're a significant contributor to our culture. Plus, they always got Narcan, so if somebody's spazzing out next to you, you can go grab them and you'll be all right. You know?
That's true. Everybody has to have a little wook in them,
Yeah, they're heroes. They're heroes.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Couple more here. Jason, you got an hour free in downtown Denver. You hitting Tattered Cover, Denver Art Museum, or grabbing coffee at the Maven?
I think I could probably grab a coffee and then head to the art museum first. Yeah, I probably head to the art museum first. Tattered Cover though is a staple, and it's just a great place to spend time. I actually, aside from like looking for a good book, like it's a great place to like chill out and read too. If you're looking for a little quiet space.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my order.
Amazing. There's at the Denver Art Museum, there's a exhibit, Andrea Carlson. I haven't seen it yet, but my wife went and said it's absolutely extraordinary. Really cool stuff. She showed me she got the book, and it looks really cool. But yeah, I love the Denver Art Museum too. All right. Michael, everybody says Denver pizza is mid. Make the bare argument to that statement. If you're going for pizza, where are you going to get pizza?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about this because my recommendations are not going to include real cheese. That being said, there is a good vegan pizza at Pie Hole on Broadway. There is a great vegan pizza at City City, which is on 13th. And then there's also a really cool company. I don't know if they actually have a location in Denver proper, but it's called T Mama's Pizza. And they have a ton of different options. I think it's family-owned small business, and they do a good job too. But I don't know. I don't think you can have bad pizza though. So people are just too harsh.
I'm going to jump in here. I feel like Michael's unqualified to answer the question. Pizzeria Leopold on Wadsworth. It's not technically Denver. It's in Lakewood. That place is so good, and it's cool because you can take them. I think you can do like a take home and bake. We've never done that, but that place has a killer pizza and great subs too.
Nice. I'll give a couple of shout outs. I like that answer. Sub question, Jason. How annoying is it to work next to a vegan all day? No, I'm just kidding. Vegans are the only group that gets more heat than wooks. I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, he definitely has the combo platter going. But
I'm in both categories. I can't catch a break.
Vegan book. Dude, that should be a dating series. There would be dozens of watchers. It'd be amazing.
There'll be tens of us.
I want to give shout out to Bojo's. You got to give shout out to the Colorado Mountain Pies. I love that place. And I think also Fat Sully's is just really superior. You know, their pizza's delicious, but also their burger and fries might be number one burger and fries for me. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with that burger, but it is different. It hits different. It's great. Okay. Let's see if I got another one here. Let's just end with this one for both of you guys. You're planning a day trip outside of Denver. Where do you go?
Well, I'll chime in first. My answer might be different than Jason's, but that's great. I really enjoy, my wife and I enjoy getting out and, trying to find places that avoid I-70 traffic and also avoid people. So there's like really minimal spots to do that. But we really enjoy going out to Leadville, hanging out. Ouray is a really good spot too. People probably know about it because it's a spot for Aspen, but Basalt is a really low key town too, without as much hustle and bustle. But other than that, sometimes it's nice to just get out of Dodge and go for a drive and see the sights. But yeah, driving on 70 really hinders us sometimes.
Getting it past this year because of that reason. I told my son, I was like, son, you're on your own this year. I just can't do the 6-hour trek home. It's brutal.
It's tough. It's brutal. It just wears you down. Chime in there, Jason.
If I'm by myself, I'm usually looking for like a trail to run. So I love going down to like Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs, or Manitou Springs. That's like one of my favorite places to get miles in. If I'm going with family or like to go see friends, I love the Western Slope. We actually lived down Palisade for a little bit, and I feel like it's one of those zones that is not busy and just like a real like wow place in Colorado. Getting up on the Grand Mesa, similar. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And there's nobody up there. But then, when you get into Grand Junction, you've got the Colorado National Monument. And then you're right next door to like Moab and that whole zone too. So I love Western Colorado. And, south, obviously down to Telluride and Ouray, great zones, Crested Butte. But it might be a bit more than a day trip when you account for the drivings. But it's a great place to go.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you guys both mentioned Ouray because that's just like so extraordinary. I know it's famous for ice climbing, which I would never do. But in the summer months, boy, it's so.
I think we all pronounced it differently too.
Yeah, I believe it is Ouray, isn't it?
I thought it was Ouray. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not the authority here.
I mean, I've been here my whole life. I don't want to have to pull rank because I'm wrong on just about everything. But I always heard it as Ouray, but also like, I don't know.
I think that's right. Arvada has the same problem.
Yeah, Arvada. What's the other one? Colorado it's Colorado, So, but it's totally different approaches. I know there's a brand called Denva, like where they're like kind of have a soft A on the end of Denver, but I came from Denver. That was the pronunciation where I grew up. So, it's all changing, just so long as you don't say Butchtail, then we got a problem, then we got a problem. Kind of wrapping up here, I want to ask you guys personal questions. Michael, splendidblendband.com looks extraordinary. What are some other bands in Denver that maybe our listeners should know about?
Oh, man. Give some shout outs to the scene. Got to give some love to the homies in the band Giant Walking Robots. Some good friends in that band. A lot of a lot of really great music in Denver. One of my favorites is Squeaky Feet. They are emerging on the scene. They just released a new album. We got the homies in Squirr. They're crushing it right now. A lot of really great music is out there, and trying to think if I'm forgetting anybody. People will now message me and say, you didn't include my band.
That's right.
Another great band is Mr. Specific. They're kind of like proggy jam,
Cool.
so that's fun. But yeah, tons of great music in the scene out there.
Yeah, 100%. And Jason, it sounds like you put in a lot of road work. What's a good spot? I don't want to blow up your spot, but and I think I also share with you guys your need to get away from folks a little bit and find a little privacy. What's a good run that maybe goes a little bit unnoticed in and around Denver?
In and around Denver, the river trails are great to run. They're nice too if you're like on any sort of like training plan, because you can, plan out the mileage. It's all sort of marked there for you. So like out and backs on those trails are great. In terms of like mountain trails, 90% of my training runs are out at Apex Park in Golden. Just like that doesn't get too busy either, which is great. I really liked running around City Park when I lived over in that neighborhood. It's nice when if you're going to be running in the city, it's nice if you have an option to get off pavement a little bit, and you can run, I believe it's like a 5K, to run around the whole, unpaved portion of City Park, which is really cool. And then when it's like covered in snow, it's beautiful. So, I think those are some good recommendations.
You bet. Yeah, and they got those big old cottonwoods too in City Park. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up playing tennis out there, and this great guy TQ. He was a former Black Panther, was our tennis coach, and he was famous because he'd give you a 25-gallon bucket of tennis balls, and you couldn't leave until you served them all, and then you'd have to do laps, around City Park. So I got some road work in there. That's a great reco. I love that. And shout out to Sloan's Lake and Ken again. I it's tip of my tongue because I saw Ken this weekend and his wife Sharon, who are amazing. And so I got to pick his brain a little bit about that Sloan's Lake lap. What a legend. Telescopemapping.com is where business owners can learn about your services. And I do recommend they reach out. I know you'll speak directly to Michael and Jason. Aside from the website, what's the best way for people to connect with you guys online?
For being in marketing and sales, we don't do a great job of being out there personally. LinkedIn is probably the best place to connect with us outside of our website, but in terms of like other social channels, we don't really use them.
Perfect. We will link the LinkedIns in the show notes here. We'll put a link to Telescope Mapping. I highly recommend anybody check it out, whatever kind of scope of business you're working on. These guys are your solution. Thank you so much for joining me for the conversation today, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
All right, Denver folks, this one's for you. If you love this city as much as I do, you've got to go over to realgooddenver.com. This is a newsletter, it's a podcast, it's a whole vibe. On the podcast, What's Good Denver, we dive into the things that make Denver, well, Denver. We're talking about restaurant recommendations, local founders, events, and just all around inspiring people that have helped shape the culture in Denver, Colorado. And if you're all about discovering hidden gems, big ideas, and the heartbeat that make Denver, Denver, this is the podcast and newsletter for you. Whether you're a lifelong local, like me, or new to the Denver area, this is your inside guide to all things Denver. So check out realgooddenver.com and listen to the podcast, subscribe to the newsletter. Trust me, it's everything you love about Denver in one place. That's realgooddenver.com. Now back to the show.